Addictions are a symptom of recognizing that there's an emptiness inside, and you're trying desperately to fill it with externalities, and the pleasure never lasts. There's never enough pleasure. Children's books that help children learn from the beginning of life how to be happy. What are the happiness skills that they need? Because it's never too late to learn how to live a happy life.
We never get to a place where we do not have to deal with the shadow anymore. What we are able to do is align more and more, quicker and quicker, to the empowering perspective. But there is always that self, that personality, those themes, those cells, those wires that we need to reprogram. Welcome to the Daily Soul Bytes show. This is season 3. I am your host, Bola Abimbola. This is the show where we will continue to have guest authors, coaches, and entrepreneurs from the fields of spirituality, psychology, and leadership to share their insights for the expansion of collective consciousness. And today I have a very special guest all the way from Baltimore. Her name is Bracha Goetz. Welcome to the show, Bracha.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here with you.
Same here. Let me read a bit about your bio. Bracha Goetz is a Harvard-educated wellness expert and author of 42 books that help children shine, plus a candid memoir for adults. This is the Nourish the Soul, Feeling the Emptiness Within, about my empowering journey to joy, Bracha says. Wow, well done. Wow, thank you. Thank you for being here, Bracha. How did you get to this place? This is not, getting to a place where you can actually begin to nourish your soul and, enjoy life with pleasure is not a joke.
That's right.
How did you get to this place?
Yes, good question. I would say the journey began at age 12. When the body starts changing, the hormones started changing. I began adolescence, and my mind expanded too, and I started asking questions about life. All of a sudden, what's the purpose of life? What are we here for? This can't be all there is. And the search began all through my teen years and until my early 20s. As the search became more desperate, I developed food addictions. And the way I see it now is it's a symptom. Addictions are a symptom of recognizing that there's an emptiness inside, and you're trying desperately to fill it with externalities, and the pleasure never lasts. There's never enough pleasure. So a person will just keep stuffing their face, for instance, or whatever the addiction is, because they want that momentary pleasure to keep lasting. And it wasn't until later on in life that I found how to make the pleasure last. What is the secret to happiness? So that's what I'm enjoying sharing now for the rest of my life, hopefully, through children's books that help children learn from the beginning of life how to be happy. What are the happiness skills that they need? And then to help adults who have to catch up and learn later on in life, because it's never too late to learn how to live a happy life.
Wow, I love that. Thank you, Bracha. Honestly, I love what you said about addiction, and that last sentence, it's never too late, because addiction can come to us at any age.
Right.
And sometimes we think, I'm now in my 60s or in my 70s. I can no longer become addicted. But addiction can be anything that doesn't serve us anymore. It could be food. It could be exercise.
Yes.
It could be any activity that takes away from our good outcomes. So
yes.
I really love that you are doing this, and I'd love to know a bit more about your books.
Yeah, 42 children's books, and it's not as amazing as it sounds because there's not that many words in the books. You know, these are picture books. Like this is one of my newest books. Don't read this book. In other words, this is a book. It's in that voice of the inner critic. And the inner critic is saying, don't read this book or you're going to learn all my secrets and then you'll be able to outsmart me. So that's what I'm teaching. I'm teaching children early on in life how to outsmart that inner critic. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That's powerful because this is really where change needs to start, that rewiring. The rewiring of the conditioning that we have within us that makes it so difficult for us to step beyond that and really embody that pleasure, embody that empowered self. There's such a learned helplessness that we learn, that we have as we grow up.
Beautiful. And
it's just having books like this that really enable our children and us. And I'm sure I might find that book really, helpful as well because it's a journey.
It's a journey.
We never get to a place. Where we do not have to deal with the shadow anymore. What we are able to do is align more and more, quicker and quicker to the empowering perspective. But there is always that self, that personality, those themes, those cells, those wires that we need to reprogram. So I love that you are really engaging children with with your books. What about the adult memoir? What's that?
Oh yeah. And I just want to say one more thing. Just like what you were saying, what this voice does, it's very simple. It gets us to focus on what we're lacking. And everybody's lacking something. Everybody's missing something. So it gets us to focus on that, and that gets bigger and bigger. Instead, if we recognize that's what the voice is doing to us, and we say, oh, it's you trying to make me miserable. Instead, I'm going to focus on all that I have right now. I'm going to focus on the many blessings in my life right now. Oh my gosh, then our focus shifts, and whatever we're focusing on, that's what grows in our life. So that's it. It's really simple. Could you imagine if this is what we teach children early in life and then they get it? So the adult book, this is Nourish the Soul, Filling the Emptiness Within. It's about my journey. I don't like to write lots of words and long things. So I didn't really write the book. I compiled it. I actually found my old diaries and journals and letters, and I put them together and I filled in the missing pieces. So it's kind of a documentary. You experience with me what it's like to develop a food addiction and how I healed from it. Like you kind of go through the experience with me when I'm like binging uncontrollably or when I'm dieting and like all these restrictions, like you're in my head with me as I'm doing it. And then you go through the healing process with me. That's the experience of the book. Yeah.
Oh, that's powerful. I love the vulnerability that you've shown to share that journey, because it takes a lot to share that pain, to share that transformation. But I love the way that it will be really inspiring for, I'd love to get that.
Thank you.
This is my book, Daily Soul Bytes, is also.
Can you hold it a different way? I can't see the cover. That's it. Wait a minute, a little bit slant. There we go. Now I could see the words. Okay.
Can you see it now?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. It's always funny with the lights.
Beautiful.
But it is about the higher perspective. It's really about us opening up to become much more aware of the different perspectives within us, the ego self perspectives, which are usually around survival and fear, as well as the higher perspectives, the perspectives around love, around forgiveness,
Yes.
around patience,
Yes.
around tolerance, resilience. Those voices are always there. They're voices of the ego self and voices of the higher self. And it's all about self-awareness, so we can become more mindful of what we are focusing on. The more familiarity we have with the different perspectives, it's all within us. It's all about integration. It's all within us. So the more we can become aware of these different perspectives, we can then begin to align and focus. And I love it when you said, whatever we're focusing on is what expands within us. So that's
Yes.
really beautiful. What did you
Exactly.
want?
It's
Yeah.
just what you said. What the neurons start firing together and they wire together. And because our brains have neuroplasticity, we can actually reshape our brains into becoming gratitude brains. The more pathways we create, the more we practice gratitude, the easier it becomes to become a more grateful person. Yeah.
Could you tell me a bit more about your journey through Harvard? What did you study in Harvard?
Yeah, when I was there, I majored in psychology and I was pre-med. And after Harvard, I went on to medical school and I wanted to become a psychiatrist. But meanwhile, while I'm studying all this stuff and I'm doing like really groundbreaking research in, of course, eating disordered behavior while I'm getting sicker and sicker. So the intellectual understanding is not enough. I'm learning all this stuff, but I'm still getting just as sick because I did not have what could really fill me up spiritually. The summer after my first year of medical school, when by then my behaviors were more bizarre than ever. And, when you have an addiction, you're doing it in secret. Nobody knows what you're doing. No one knows how you're suffering. And it's like you're in a prison where the walls get narrower and narrower as the addiction takes over your life. It takes over your energy, your emotions, your intellect. It takes over. So you really have no life left. They say addiction is when your life becomes unmanageable. That's what it is, because you've given up your whole life for the addiction. And actually recovery is giving up the addiction for everything else. It's like you get everything back,
Yeah,
So Harvard, I had a blast while I was at Harvard. It was a really you see, the reason I got there is because I was searching for wisdom. And so I started studying everything and I started doing really well in school. So that's how I ended up there. And because I wanted to learn about everything. Again, it was that search for inner wisdom. That's not what I found at Harvard. I found a lot of knowledge, but it wasn't that spiritual wisdom that I was seeking. Even I took courses at Harvard Medical School, Harvard Divinity School, searching everywhere while still an undergraduate and the Graduate School of Public Health, because public health still interests me. And many of my children's books are about public health issues like Let's Stay Healthy and prevention of abuse. I'm very into that because having a healthy body is part of what helps our souls to shine. It's an integrative thing, like it's holistic, having a healthy body, mind, and soul. So eventually, the summer after my first year of medical school, I went to Israel that summer and I ended up learning about my own heritage, which I didn't know that much about. And I learned deep, ancient, mystical wisdom. And one of the things I learned about was the pleasure ladder. And that's when my life began to change, because the pleasure ladder explains that what really fills our soul with lasting pleasure is gratitude. And it explains the different levels of how we can fill up on gratitude.
Oh, I'd love to hear about that. Could you share that with us? Okay.
Yeah, I love to. So there's 5 levels to the pleasure ladder, and it corresponds to these 5 fingers that we have, because it's a message to us. We can bring pleasure into our own lives at any moment. We have the power. It's totally empowering. That's amazing. So, I was at a very low point in my life when I didn't even want to live anymore. Hard to believe. Gone to Harvard, went to medical school, yet I was miserable inside. Empty. So basically, I wanted to know, what's the purpose of life? When this old rabbi explained to me that, the purpose of life is to experience the greatest pleasure possible. I'm like, what? That sounds hedonistic. What? No, but the greatest pleasure possible is spiritual pleasure. It's when we really fill ourselves up. And the lowest level on the pleasure ladder, the 5 levels, they also correspond to the 5 levels of the human soul. And the lowest level of the soul is the part that's connected to the body. So this part that's connected to the body, the lowest level of the soul, it fills up by experiencing all the natural pleasures in this world, all the sensual pleasures that were designed for us to experience with pleasure. The natural foods, spending time in nature, enjoying this beautiful garden, music, running, dancing, exercise, moving our bodies that were designed to move. All these pleasures, when we experience them with gratitude, then they nourish both our bodies and our souls. And then if you move up the pleasure ladder, the next level is love. Love doesn't sound empowering. It sounds like we need somebody else to give us love. We're dependent. No, the ancient mystical definition of love is focusing on the virtues of another. So even in prison, we can bring love into our lives, and even in the prison of an addiction, by focusing on the virtues of another. Like, let's say a prisoner thinks of a grandmother that once did a kindness for them, and they are immediately elevated to a warm emotional feeling and inspired to be a better person just by focusing on the virtues of another. So those are the first 2 levels. And then higher level than that is doing something good and meaningful. When we do something good and meaningful, right that minute, we fill up with gratitude that we are able to do something for another, and we come out of that addictive brain. It's like this. Each level up brings more connection, and each level up is a more lasting pleasure. When we're in addiction, we feel disconnected, alienated, estrangement, lonely, depressed, anxious. And when we feel gratitude, we feel connection. It's that connection of gratitude from us to the source of whatever is providing us with that loving kindness. So, like, I was on another show and I got up to the 3rd level of doing something good and meaningful. And the host said that he was feeling miserable the day before, and he bought a whole box of pizza. He finished 2 slices and he's about to plow through the whole box of pizza. There's a knock on his door. His neighbor needs his help for 2 minutes to move some furniture, whatever. He comes back and he looks at the pizza and he doesn't need it anymore. What changed? What changed in those 2 minutes? He he filled up with gratitude that he could help somebody else. He put the rest of the pizza in the fridge for another day. He didn't need it anymore. He wasn't craving it anymore. He filled up with gratitude. He got that feeling of connection. He mattered in the world again. He reconnected with his soul, that he was a soul. So the next level up is creativity. And that's surprising. But if you think about it, when you are engaged doing something creative, you don't feel like eating or sleeping. You're on such a high in that creative zone that even you're beyond time, like you're not aware of time passing at all. That each level up, we are more and more emulating the cosmic oneness in qualities. So that's how that works. And the highest level of all is called transcendence. It's when we connect with everybody and everything, and we're all connecting to the same source energy. We recognize it's flowing through all of us. And those veils of separation, they just disappear. And we feel that like under a starry sky at night. We know we're a part of a greater universe. That feeling stays with us forever. Like if you're ever in the country. And we also experience it when we transcend our own limitations. When we make that first crack in a bad habit, and we reconnect to us, to our infinite selves, the divine spark that's us. So all of this, in order to climb the pleasure ladder, any rung, there's just one price to pay. And now you know what that price is. The price is gratitude. It's just gratitude for this amazing garden that we're in. And when we recognize that we've gone really far off from it, and we can, on my website, there's a free copy of the pleasure ladder with all the details written in about how to climb the pleasure ladder. So
beautiful.
Yeah, I encourage people to put it on their fridge or their cabinet. When you feel like overeating or engaging in another addiction, you can it helps you to remember that there's an abundance of pleasure in your life this very moment, because it's that sense of scarcity that makes us just want to keep stuffing ourselves. If we recognize that there's an abundance of ways, then we don't have to have that sense of control. I have to have control here. It helps us to trust more that really this is a world filled with loving kindness and infinite intelligence designed for us to experience in gratitude. That's really our whole purpose for being here.
That's so powerful. Thank you, Bracha. Honestly, there is something about understanding the thirst, the hunger within us for oneness, for connection. Because sometimes we don't realize that hunger is there. We first of all think it's normal, and it's only when we have experiences like a heartbreak or addiction or a dark night of the soul. That's really when we then look for something else to fill it up, to fill up that, that break, that separateness. Because we are not separate. It appears, it feels that we are separate, but we cannot be separate. It is the reality. The truth is that we are not separate. The reality makes us feel that we are. So I love the way your pleasure ladder, the 5 steps, as well as the concept of gratitude, really helps us to reconnect to source, to divine source. And that transcendence into oneness is so key, because this is where the satisfaction lies, the sustainable satisfaction that will take us, into that place where we live in heaven on earth. We're actually experiencing heaven on earth. And
Beautiful.
I love the way that your principles on the pleasure ladder really help us to capture that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Listen, well, how do you?
And it's, I
Yes.
just want to say it's not from my head. All of this is, there's that, like you said, the ladder is from heaven, is from earth to heaven, heaven on earth. It's that famous ladder, really. So from the Bible, actually, so this is not from my head. This is from ancient mystical teachings. And I don't want to make it sound like it's me. I'm just loving sharing it because every person that I share it with, it helps my soul to shine brighter too, helping other souls to shine. Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. And where can people find you when they want to connect with you, Bracha?
Thank you so much. Yeah, my children have designed such a beautiful website. It's called Growing Impact Publications. And that's where all my books are. And you could find the pleasure ladder and everything. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me today, Bracha.
Thank you. It was so wonderful to be with you. I love your resonating soul, and I feel such a connection to you. Thank you.
Same here, Bracha. And I do want to encourage our listeners to grab a copy of Bracha's book, Nourish the Soul, and children's books as well, really about rewiring the minds of children from early on to make it easier for them to really experience much more transformation early on in life. So that's really powerful. Thank you, Bracha. And I want to
thank you so much.
I want to thank my listeners and the audience and ask you to subscribe to the Daily Soul Bytes show. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and, leave a comment, send us a review. Let us know what you think of our content. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Daily Soul Bytes show. Bye-bye.